Family Matters
on Afternoons with Helen Farmer.
It is, of course, half term. We're taking some time to reflect back over what's got to go down in history as one of the strangest terms in school history. Things are different, right? We walk into school wearing masks and going through a tent, and there's a one-way system, and it's it's strange for me as a parent, and I know it's strange for my oldest daughter. My youngest one's just started. She hasn't got a notion. PE is one of the areas that perhaps has seen the most change, and that's what we're talking about this afternoon. Are PE and sports taking a back seat in schools right now? We're joined on the line by, we've got Niall Statham with us. He is the head of PE at Heartland International School. I feel like I should call you Mr. Statham. Is it okay to call you Niall?
Coming from a Scottish background, but it is you can call me Mr. Statham if you prefer.
Whatever makes me feel comfortable. Good to know. I'm sorry for taking you away from your day off. I know it's half term, but I think it is a really useful time to kind of reflect a little bit, really. Tell us, how did you feel about getting back, I was going to say the classroom, but getting back to the sports field after such a strange time in 2020? Yeah,
well, we were absolutely delighted to be back. I think when KHD released their guidelines for schools reopening, one of the things everyone in the PE community was thrilled about was to see that there was a section devoted to PE, which is absolutely fantastic. And I think PE departments across Dubai put in such a massive and commendable effort with their agility in trying to move things online and keep students and families active and moving. But we're relieved to be back. As a parent myself, I'm so thrilled to have my daughters back in active lessons instead of just being in our apartment through that long hot summer.
I have to say, PE on distance learning, sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. Sometimes I had my daughter just delighted to be running around and throwing socks into a washing up, bowl and things. But some things just unfortunately didn't lend themselves, and of course team sports being one of those. So are you able to give us a bit of a general overview about some of the major changes that you've had to implement at Heartland to make sure that the kids are safe when it comes to all things COVID?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's a slow and steady approach because we're looking at this as a whole academic year, and there's been so many different things to consider. And I think if we're starting with the rules that we had to keep in mind, things like we need to maintain social distancing at all times. So our sports hall, where it might have been awash with equipment before, is sectioned off into neat 1.5 metre boxes. Students are wearing masks now when they're not exercising vigorously, and there's, at the moment, far less interaction than there might have been before. But there are positives to this as well, because it's, there are a lot of people who are listening, their view of PE might just be that of sport, and it might be dominated by team games, and especially in British education, your traditional football, rugby, netball. So it has led to some positives as well, where areas in the curriculum which might not have been so prominent, like gymnastics, dance, have really come to the fore, and racket sports as well. So it's been a welcome opportunity in some cases to refocus on some of those traditionally less popular sports in this region.
Can I ask you, what impact does that have on how competitive kids are feeling? We mentioned some of those more popular team sports. Does that, you think kids are still getting that sportsmanship, that teamwork feel?
I hope so. It's a welcome opportunity to encourage children to look at competition not just as an external me versus you, but a me versus me as well. And a lot of the things that we're doing now have been able to bring back to, this is about self-improvement. And there are elements of competition that are external, of course, but this is about your own journey. And we've managed to build in some competitive opportunities, which have been great. So during the school closure, and then once we've reopened, we've managed to play some virtual sports fixtures, which might sound a bit strange.
What? How?
Yeah.
How does this work?
How's the fair question? So it started off with very humble beginnings. So we connected with a school in Cairo, and it was a simple speed bounce competition. So everyone had a towel which they rolled up into a little log shape, and it was as many jumps as you could head to head on screen, and they had a fantastic time watching each other. And it's grown arms and legs since then. We've used some AI software with other schools to complete challenges. And our next goal, we're linked up with a few schools in the UK now, is for an indoor online athletics competition involving some high jumping and some indoor javelin. So where there's a will, there's a way.
Well, it's funny, isn't it? These things do tend to lead to more creativity. And, we saw this when it came to distance learning across all topics. But it does force you to think about education in a different way and connection. And in this sense, competition in a different way as well. Now, it sounds like the kids have been absolute troopers. It really does. And, we talk time and time again about how resilient kids are. And ultimately, they just get used to things a lot more quickly. But what about the mums and dads? And I think it's safe to say we've famously got some quite pushy parents in the city when it comes to making sure kids get on teams. They're getting the attention, the coaching that they need. What is happening when it comes to team sports right now, and how are parents faring and all of that?
Parents have been amazing so far, and while I've got the microphone, as it were, I want to just take the opportunity to thank them all, because they're an essential part of the school community. And as a parent myself, I understand the worry, having spent the last 5 or 6 months protecting your family unit. It's for some people it was daunting coming back, but they've been absolutely brilliant. And I think parents have been supportive with what schools are trying to do. And I think sort of key to this is the fact that the Dubai Sports Council have opened up options for sports companies to resume outside of school. So that takes a little bit of the pressure off schools for now in terms of providing competitive inter-school sports. So the option's still there for people who want them. And as the guidance is received and unfolds, we're constantly in communication with KHDA as a network of schools about how we can work together within our Dubai Schools Sport Association network. So parents have been brilliant. As ever, we can't do it without them.
Well said indeed. A message here saying sports academies have all started. Everyone's doing a great job. KHJ and Sports Council working together is good. Also, a message from Leila and Jude saying, "Hi, Mr. Statham, we're listening to you on the radio." There's no escape from the students. Now, as we said, it's been a strange year for you teachers, and I think a lot of people were perhaps looking forward to going travelling or to their home countries over the summer, but maybe more work on your plates than ever before as you thought about getting back into the classroom under completely different circumstances. The big question is, are you going to get a bit of a break this week?
Listening to this, are either listening to it on demand or they're listening to it
on the
beside
beach.
The swimming pool somewhere, or on the beach or in their bed, and connecting with the families again. It's been difficult because if we trace this all the way back to Easter holidays last year, which were moved, and then it's been a fairly continuous run, depending on your roles within schools, and there are. Yeah, I hope they are getting a break, but there's lots of other people as well behind the scenes make these schools work who are still in the process of cleaning them, resetting them up again, and making sure that they're safe. So I think, hopefully people are getting a break, but we're still mindful that there's work to be done in improving it all, and anticipating what comes next and how we can make it work better for students and families.
Well, have you had a chance to reflect yet over the last half term, and do you think you'll be doing anything different between now and Christmas?
Yeah, I think I've actually just finished writing something about it, and it's been a challenging time. I think for PE and for sport, we've reached the half term is usually our sort of tipping point that we try and get to weather-wise. So I think with the outdoor elements now being more conducive to sport, it opens up a lot more variety for schools, and a lot more options are suddenly on the plate. So we can start to get outside and get running again. We've launched a Dubai Schools distance running competition, which is going at the moment and gathers momentum, where children are running a kilometre as fast as they can and submitting their times to schools. We've had over 200 entries with that. So I think the green shoots of recovery are there for those sports, and things like football, rugby, netball, which were challenging inside, we can start to get out and work on developing those skills outside individually. And then as the situation changes, we can adapt as we need, but very much looking forward to the cool weather.
Mr. Statham, thank you so much for your time. Really, really appreciate your insights, and wishing you and everyone at Heartland all the very best. Have a relaxing half term. Niall Statham there, Head of PE at Heartland International School.